Yo, what's up, gays, lesbians, queers, everybody? It's Thursday, you're here with your girl Fresh, and I'm finally back after 2 weeks. But anyways, this week's topics are about breakups, and the other topic is, have we ever been ashamed of being gay, and if so, how did we get over it? I don't want to talk about the breakup one, just because I feel like I kind of said something like that, or I kind of talked about that stuff before. If not, I'm sorry. I was already able to identify myself when I was younger, and it's just an innate, natural feeling for me. That's who I was, this is who I'm gonna be, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's how I always viewed myself. I never questioned why I like girls, why am I different from these other girls, because they tend to gravitate towards guys and find some type of attraction that I don't. I just already knew it. I was like, okay, obviously I like girls. Or whatever. I've never really had a point in my life where I was blaming God for being gay, where I was just blaming myself for being gay, blaming my parents, being ashamed, if anything, for being gay. I never really had that point, that kind of feeling in my life for who I was. Getting to my teens and all that stuff, that's when shit gets like more serious at church, because that's where I was at the stage to be able to like attend the adult services, and that's when I started to question not why am I gay, but to question myself, like, am I in the right place? That's the type of shit that was going through my head. It wasn't anything about like, why am I gay? Why did he have to make me like this? All that stuff. No, it wasn't nothing like that. It was just, I was questioning if I was in the right place. Meaning church. At this church, we have to, at least the children have to like act a certain way just to please their parents, conduct themselves so that the other people at church don't view their parents as bad parents. That's the whole gist of it all. So that's something that pissed me off about church, is that regardless of what I decided to do, my parents would be affected. I've had times in my life where I was called to speak to a minister. I was exorcised. I went through a lot of shit, like prayers. They were like rubbing oil on me. Like, I went through a lot of shit. Dude, these people look ridiculous. Like, they're doing all the shit, and it never changed my mind, or it never made me think to myself again. I've always carried myself the way that I do. If other people have an issue with it, that's their problem. But you know, this is who I am. It's nothing to be ashamed of at all. I've always been comfortable in my skin, so I've never had any type of issue. During those times where I was getting called to speak to the minister and all that stuff about my disease or my problem, that's when my dad was pushed to the limit, and he shoved me real hard that I fell. He was telling me, like, we didn't raise our child to be gay. Are you gay? And he was asking me these things, and it's like, what the fuck do you say to that shit? You know what I mean? I think that was the only time in my life where I was, like, at a complete low. Like, I was, like, below dirt, and I just felt like shit. It's kind of hard when you are, like, really close to your family, and you go to church and all that stuff, and you finally are at this point in your life where you start to question church. You start to question your life. And it's like, do I sacrifice things? Do I settle for shit just to please my parents and please the church? Or do I choose to look like a rebel and just leave church? Regardless of what happens to my parents, because, again, I said my parents would be affected if I decide to leave, which happened. They had certain offices in the church, and that was taken away from them as soon as I bounced. I had to do what I had to do and choose to be happy. That's already a sign that I'm not ashamed for who I am. To this day, like, my parents are still, you know, still trying to go through it. My mom's still trying to make me go back to church, but I just don't want to be in that type of environment, because people there are really hypocritical, and it just pisses me off. If you don't believe in God and all that stuff, I have nothing against that. I respect everybody for what they believe in, but for me, it's just, that's how I was raised, so that's all I know, you know what I'm saying? So it's a really hard thing to go through for people like me who have to deal with church and their orientation at the same time. Like, it's a really hard thing. But again, I've never been ashamed for who I was. I've always known that I was gay, and if you're going through the same thing, like, just know that you're not alone. There's other people who are probably going through the same shit, who have already gone through the same shit that you're going through, if your story is just like mine. So, you know, just don't give up. Everyone deserves to be happy in their life. So, you know, all this ignorance and all these closed-minded people just piss me off. But we're together in this, so there's always going to be someone out there who you can confide in, who you can relate to. So don't think that you're alone, ever. I guess that's all I gotta say. I'm sorry if it was like chopped up and shit. It's just a lot to take in, and I have to like squeeze my video into 5 minutes, but I gotta go back to work as well and buy my fucking coworker a Slurpee. Fucking whore. Have a great rest of the week, and I will see you guys next week. Yeah. Bye!